Hi, I'm Rob Yoannidis from Peak Performance Coaching. I am a men's empowerment coach and especially for fathers in business. On this show today, we're going to delve into looking at some strategies around stress, overwhelm, and, balancing life in general and not only being a great father, but being a great leader as well.
Welcome to yet another exciting episode of the Online Prosperity Show, your premium destination for exclusive insights into industry leaders and innovators. I'm your host, Prosper Taruvinga, and today we're in for a treat. Joining us today is a longtime friend and esteemed colleague of mine, Rob. Now, Rob, how are you doing today?
I'm fantastic, Prosper. Thank you so much for having me on your show today.
Absolutely. Well, I'm a little bit pissed off, Rob, because we could have been having this show in person, but you decided to move to Gold Coast and left me all alone here in Melbourne.
I promise you what we will do, we will have another one of these in person when I come to Melbourne next. So yes, I did. I left you.
You know what? I don't blame you for seeking a bit more stability and consistency, especially with the 4 seasons that we have in Melbourne, weather-wise all the time. So good on you. How's it been for you?
Lovely. It's such a difference. Although if I look outside right now, it's raining, but it's it's been drizzling all day, but it's still 23, 24 degrees. Even that's the great thing about this place. It's even in the crappy days, the weather is so good still. It's bearable. Where back in Melbourne, on those cold, miserable days in winter, the only good thing about that was that I used to put my fireplace on and sit inside all day. But I spend so much more time outside now.
I love that. I can see the tan. You see, if you stay there one more year, you'll probably start looking like me in no time. You know what I mean? So.
But it's interesting because every day I like to, apart from the last couple of weeks, I blew my knee up a bit, but had a bit of a knee injury, so I haven't been able to do any walking or anything. But most days I take your friend Simba, my dog, who you adore so much. But I take the dogs for a walk with me most mornings in the sun, and then I'll come home and I do a meditation outside, and I sit in the sun for at least a good 25 to 30 minutes and I usually will take my top off because I like that sun on my chest, and it's so good for you. I think, I don't want to go into too many conspiracy theories, but I think the talk that they talk about our sun and everything else, I think there's worse things in our lives than getting beautiful, good sun on us every single day.
Absolutely. And I quite love that. But for those that are watching right now, you might be thinking, wait a minute, these guys are now bromancing and things of that nature. Well, you can only imagine. Me and Rob, we go way back, and it's only recently that he moved to Gold Coast. But he's the founder and director of Peak Performance Coaching and Training, where he serves as an empowerment coach for high achieving fathers. And he's got a decade in the coaching industry, where he's dedicated himself to help business owners, CEOs, and leaders to unlock their full potential and also master their mindset and achieve a harmonious balance between their professional success and also their personal fulfillment. Now, you will be wondering how he ended up here. Well, his journey is not just professional, but it also is deeply personal. You will hear him talk, and especially the fact that he was saying that he likes the sun on his chest. He has actually transformed his own life following a massive heart attack at age of 42, which became a pivotal moment that shaped his perspective and his mission. So in today's episode, we're going to dive into his inspiring journey. We're also going to explore his personal adversity that has fueled the passion that he has for coaching, and also the methodologies that he employs to drive this transformation and invaluable lessons that he's gathered along the way. So for those that are seeking balance or a bit of equilibrium between your career ambitions and your personal endeavors, I think this conversation promises to be both enlightening and relatable. I'm just going to guilt him one more time for why he left me here in Melbourne, and then pretty much after that we'll go into the meat and potatoes of the show. So tell us, share a little bit about your transition from Melbourne to the Gold Coast. First of all, what prompted that move, and how has that actually influenced your personal and professional life?
Oh, look, I think the way it all probably first started was mainly, well, through COVID. We were obviously in lockdown and all of those sorts of things, and that wasn't what fueled me to do anything as far as that goes. It was actually more to do with lifestyle. I felt like, we'd gone through winter in actually we'd gone through summer in Melbourne. And I remember being down at the beach house down at Dramana on the Mornington Peninsula for like 3 or 4 weeks. And I think we went to the beach about 4 times in that. It was just a really cold, well, not cold summer, but it was just not a great summer for the beach and all of that sort of stuff. And we got back, and I remember it was around Australia Day of 2022. So after COVID, and I don't know what the inspiration or where the inspiration came from, but something just said to me, Queensland, what are you doing? Why are we staying here when, I'm an outdoor person. I love the outdoors. I really love my fishing, as you know. I love the beach. Whenever I'm around water, it's my happy place. And in Melbourne, I lived in the northeastern suburbs of Eltham, grew up in Templestowe, and I was so far from the beach. To go to the beach was an hour's drive, so I said to Georgia, it was actually through COVID, about middle of 2021. I really want to go to Dramana, and I really want to have a month down there. We're just going to stay there for the whole time, and I want to see how our life is down here, because I'd really love to move. I wanted to move there. I wanted to move to the Mornington Peninsula. So we did that, and I remember, because we love to get out and walk most days, and I remember one morning we got up and I thought I was going to the snow. I really was. The cold, it was like I had my puffer jacket on. I had tracksuit pants on. I had a hoodie, a beanie, like a hoodie over the top of me. And here I am walking, and I looked at Georgia. I said, this is colder than Melbourne. This is colder than living in Eltham, which gets cold, but this is even colder. Like, I know the beach life is beautiful, but you want to be able to go to the beach whenever you so I said, I don't know if I could move here because it's actually even more cold, and I hate the cold. So yeah, it was. So we sort of pushed that aside to moving down to the beach down at the Mornington Peninsula, and then from there we just let it go. We just said, oh well, we stay in we'll stay in Eltham, or we'll start. We might look around, somewhere else within that area, and then. That's what I said. It was around that Australia Day weekend back in 2022, and something just came over me, and I said to Georgia, let's move to Queensland. Let's move to the Gold Coast. And she's like, are you serious? I said, yeah, I really am. And we'd often talked about this because one of our favourite holiday destinations is up around Noosa and Noosaville on the sunny coast. And I said, yeah, I really would. I said, look, it would depend on if the kids moved, but if the kids would move, I would definitely look to move. Um, and we talked to the kids, and there was a yes here and a yes there. And we're like, before we knew it, we're like, oh, wow, okay. And then we sort of sat on it for a little while. We just sat on it for a little bit and thought about it, had a good think about it, and if this is really what we wanted to do. And the feeling was good. The feeling was good. And then we sort of put up our house, put the house up for sale, and that's, sort of by the time we got that ready and did everything for that, it was sort of not mid-year, but and then by the time we sold, it was like late September. Or out of the house in late September, and then we made the journey up to the Gold Coast. And I remember the day we moved out. I'll never forget this. It's a beautiful memory. But we walked through the whole house, just the four of us, myself, Georgia, and the two kids, and I think we cried in every room because there were so many beautiful memories. But it was time. It was time to make a change, and we'd had 20 beautiful years there, and the kids grew up in that house and everything about it. But they're just memories at the end of the day. There are memories that you can take with you wherever you go. So, and I'll never forget though the day we moved, like the day we literally closed that door. I felt like vomiting. That's how nervous and that's how uncomfortable I was in the move at the end of the day. But as it's not the easy things that in life that actually help us grow. It's in the uncomfortable that really help us grow. And I said to Georgia, I said, what are we doing? And I remember saying it like literally and she looked at me like, what? I said,
everything is ready.
Everything's gone.
We're technically homeless now. What do you say?
And I said, what are we doing? Like, I can't believe and I just said, get in the car. I said, get in the car. Let's just start driving. And I remember getting out towards where you live, out your way, sort of onto the ring road, and then on the Hume Highway, and that nervousness and the sadness turned to excitement.
Because now you were headed towards where you were going. It
literally took me half an hour, like before I'd really, but it was still, I was very nervous at times. And even when we first got up here, I've been up here now nearly 2.5 years, just over 2.5 years. And, do I miss Melbourne? I don't think I miss Melbourne. I miss the people. Yeah. I miss my family. I miss my mum and dad, and I miss my brothers and my sister-in-laws and my nieces and nephews. But then I go back and I get my fix. I miss my friends, all my friends, 50 years of friendships and all of that sort of stuff. But they never go away. Really strong friendships will never go away as long as we continue to make that connection and we continue to put the time in, I suppose, to make a phone call or see how your friends are going back home or whatever it is. So here we are today, 2.5 years later, and still on the Gold Coast. Raining today, but that's okay. And it really, I really enjoy the lifestyle up here.
Absolutely. And you know what I like about this and everything that you've said. I mean, obviously, I remember when we were in Dromana at run about the same time, and then I think I posted a photo, and you're like, wait a minute, where are you? And I'm like, and I said I was in Dromana, but the day wasn't a really nice day for people to do anything. But there you go, that's Melbourne for you. But if you would reflect back on your days in Melbourne, would you ever envision yourself, first of all, leading the lifestyle that you have right now, and especially being able to still do your job, the coaching enterprise, that you run, Peak Performance Coaching and Training, that you now have? Would you have seen yourself doing this? I mean, based on the past that you had?
So what are you saying? As a coach, do I ever envision myself doing this? No, never. Like I remember, I'll talk about my journey of how I came along to that, but no, I wouldn't have thought so. I was in a family business for nearly 15 years, and then Georgia and I ran our own business in the hospitality game for many years as well. And but no, I wouldn't have. No, I didn't even know what coaching was back. Yeah, even to be honest, probably 2009, 10. I really didn't know what coaching was back then.
So what sparked your interest into this field of coaching?
So it all began sort of back through the GFC, back in 2000. And I had a little stint in around 2007, 2008 that I was the Victorian sales manager for a company, and I'd never ever worked for anybody else apart from family and my own business. And the GFC was coming along, and there was talk, things are going to be tough. And I was running the show down in Melbourne, in Victoria, but I also was taking care of South Australia and parts of Queensland, and doing some really great things too. I really built the business up, and we had a guy that came into the business that became the national sales manager, and we just butted heads. We just butted heads from day dot. He was ex-military, and it was his way or no way. And I can be probably a little bit strong-willed at times, and so we just clashed, and he sacked me. And they went bankrupt straight, and they went broke after that because I had some really great deals going, and everyone just pulled the rug under them and said, if Rob's not there, we don't want to deal with you. We've established the relationship with Rob, and Rob does a great job with us, and so they literally he made a very big mistake that he took over a contract that I was taking care of, and the measurements we were making the hospital trolleys. And he made a measurement mistake and cost the company $250,000, and sent them broke, and which was pretty not the best of decisions. Getting rid of me and keeping him, that sent them broke. But that's the way things go. And then I went through from there. I had some money put aside that I thought to myself, you know what, Georgia, I'm going to go and we're going to start our own business. I'm not sure what it's going to be. And I sat with that for a while, but that money was put aside, and it was actually in shares that actually went bust. And we lost near on 300 grand back then. And I was only 38, I think 39. And it pretty much was I could have, pretty much with that money set up a business and got a business running. And from there, I went crashing. I really did. I felt useless, if that's the word. And I felt worthless to my family. I felt like I was failing. And I went through a really bad time through like depression, I would call it. I often say we don't have depression, we do depression, and it is a state that we're in. And I just kept myself in that state because I felt sorry for myself. Poor me. And unfortunately, for me, I just kept further and further down, and until one day I think I got to ground zero, and I actually came to my wife, to Georgia, and I said, I need to confess. I said, I've got to tell you, I'm not in a good place. And she knew, but she didn't know the extent of it. So she knew that I was battling a little bit, but she didn't know the extent of it. And then from there, I spoke to her, and I opened up to her, and then I opened up to my brothers, which was seriously like a ton of bricks had come off me. Soon as I opened up and I started to talk, And then, yeah, sort of some friends helped me out as well. And from that, it was a slow stages of just stepping up and stepping up. And then funny enough, I went, Georgia sent me along to Sydney to a conference, and the conference had Tony Robbins there. And I didn't know too much about Tony Robbins back then, but all I knew was that this guy is the guru, and this guy helps people change their state, and helps people change their lives. And from that, I went along to that, and I walked away from it like Superman. And literally, he was up on stage for like 5 hours. And it just changed my state. I changed the way I felt. I changed a lot of things. And from there, like literally we were at the time, because I wasn't working. I wasn't working at that stage. And literally Georgia didn't know this at the time, but I took money out of our home loan, and 10 grand, and I bought 2 tickets to Unleash the Power Within, and something else. I can't remember what the other one was, but Unleash the Power Within. And I took Georgia along to that. And from there, I just went, wow, what an industry. And from that, we went to Date with Destiny, which is 7 days with Tony Robbins up here on the Gold Coast, funny enough. And in that seminar, we got up and spoke. So I got up, Georgia got up first, and she spoke, and then I spoke. And I'll never forget, Tony put his hand on my shoulder, and the man mountain he is. Like I'm 5'11", 180 centimeters. He's just a giant. And I thought, I've got big hands. And he put his hand on my shoulder, and he looked me in the eyes, and he said, you need to go, because I was in the family business, but I wasn't. I was sort of in and out of it at that stage. And he said, you need to go and do something else. You need to go and do something that you want to really do, and something you're passionate about. And I sat there and I thought, well, what am I passionate about? Gee, I'm passionate about my football. I'm passionate about coaching. I'm thinking more along the lines of football, like sport. And then I sort of thought, I love being around people. Maybe that's what he's talking about. And I didn't, and so that's where we opened up our catering business, and we had hospitality and all of that sort of stuff going. And I'm thinking, oh, maybe it's this, I'm always around people. But in the back of my mind, I was looking at him, and I wanted to say it, but I didn't say it. I wanted to say, I want to do what you're doing. I want to help people. I actually want to coach. I want to help people. And I stayed silent. And I don't know why. And to this day, I sort of regret it, because I think he would have taken me under his wing. I really do. I really feel like he would have said, come and do my course. Not for free or anything like that, but he would have put some energy into it and got me into his course. And then sort of we went through that, and then opened a cafe. We were catering. I was working 7 days a week, and absolutely burnt out. I was doing 12-hour days, and I was just pushing harder and harder and harder, to a stage where I wasn't getting any family time. I would literally wake up in the morning, 6:30. I'd be out of the house by 7. I'd be at work by quarter past 7, because our cafe was not far from us at home. And I would be there till 6:30 or 7, whatever time I'd finish cleaning up, because, no one else can do what I do. I was trying to do everything. And the stress was ridiculous, and the pressure, the stress, the tiredness. I was fatigued. I was burnt out. from when I started the cafe to when, till a year and a half, 2 years later, I was a different person, literally, because I was so fatigued. I was so burnt out. And then in March the 16th, 2015, I had a massive heart attack. And that was at 42 years old. And wow, that was the biggest shake-up, because realistically, I survived something that that the doctors said I was very lucky to survive. I'm not going to say I shouldn't have, because I should have. I'm obviously here for a reason now, and I honestly believe that there was a bigger purpose, and what that is probably my coaching and helping other men. But I had a massive heart attack, and that was my eye opener. That was my, F this. I'm not going to swear. I'll say F this. Enough is enough. And I really changed my life. I had to change. We sold the cafe. We got out of the cafe. We stayed with catering, and we then grew and started managing school canteens. And we grew that to about 6 canteens. And I started my coaching business not long after that. Georgia actually paid for my deposit for my birthday, and she surprised me because I'd started looking into coaching at that stage. So I said, you know what, I need to change my life. I had a coach. I started to do my own coaching. So to help me with stress, to help me with, time management, to help me with balance in my life. And that's where I sit now with my business is helping business owners and fathers be the best version of themselves, but not only in their business, but as, I often say, thrive as a leader, lead as a father, and that's my motto now, is to thrive as a leader, but also lead as a father. And so, 10 years later, the journey's still going. It's something that I'm so passionate about. And, it all pretty much started through Tony Robbins. If I had never went to Tony Robbins, I would never ever would have I gone on this journey. Well, I don't know that, but it was his inspiration, his words, and his look in my eye. I'll never forget that look in my eye. It was like you're built for better things than what you're doing. And it was a great moment. An uncomfortable moment, but a great moment in my life.
Absolutely. And thank you so much for sharing that journey, because so many people, like you said, you were going through life just humming through, and obviously you were doing depression, as you have eloquently put it together. And there's pivotal moments in your story where obviously you opened up to Georgia, and also you then opened up to your friends and relatives and people that were really close to you, because so many people are just walking around carrying all these heavy burdens, and and there's shame, there's guilt, and all those things that would have just culminated into a life-altering event like the one that you sort of actually experienced. Now, this day and age, obviously some people might not have it in the sequence and the type that you have, but so many high achieving fathers are grappling with burnout and stress, especially these days where AI has come in. So people are trying to work extra harder so they can still maintain their jobs and things of that nature. And then there's the whole stress of, maybe I'm not going to be able to be adequate, like you felt when you lost all that money. When you draw from your own personal journey and everything else that has happened, what sort of strategies have you found that might be most effective in managing the challenges that fathers are actually experiencing in order for them to thrive as a leader and to lead as a father?
Look, I think the first thing that we need to get right is the balance in life. I think so many men push and push and push and push so hard because they feel like they're not enough. All right. They feel like, unless I do, I'm doing this for the family, I'm doing that for the family, and they sacrifice their health, their, their mental health, their health, and everything else that goes with it. So I think that the first thing is you've got to have time for self. You've got to have your time to get up in the morning, go for a walk, do some meditation, whatever it is. I'm not going to tell people how to run their lives, but I often say, what do you love doing? What do you love doing outside of your work? Is it going for a walk? Is it going to the gym? Is it riding a bike? Whatever it is, but I think it's important, and especially as we get older, it's important to keep moving our bodies. So in within that, it's having some time for yourself, whether it's an hour, 2 hours, 45 minutes, whatever it is, what you can spare. And so many people are, I don't have time. Bullshit. I call BS on that because we've all got 24 hours in a day. Okay. Why can people run 6 and 7 and 8 businesses and do it successfully, and then others go, I don't have the time? It's all about managing how and prioritizing what we want out of life as such. So it's making sure we have time for ourselves. I often talk about that we have 2 levels of, choose your level of hard. So, especially with stress. Let's talk about stress here. So there's the pseudo self-care on one side, which is the fake self-care, which is, for most men is binging on watching movies, binging on scrolling through TikTok and Facebook and all of these sorts of things, binging on food or alcohol or drugs, and even porn. I'll even throw that one in, because that's the connection that they get with themselves. So they'll go and binge on all of that sort of stuff. And what happens is they push the stress away, right? But what happens when they finish watching the movie or finish binging on a packet of chips or binging on a 6-pack of beers or whatever it is that stress just rises again. It comes back, it surfaces. Instead of that, so that's that one level of hard, because that's still hard, because realistically it's just pushing the stress away. On the other side, we have real self-care. So that's actually taking time for yourself. It might be doing some exercise to release the stress. I know for anyone that tells me they're stressed, if you do some work, some walking, walking, exercise, whatever it is, sitting and actually dissecting what is actually stressing you at the time. So many people go, I'm stressed about X, Y, and Z. Well, stop, sit for a second. Why is X, Y, and Z stressing you right now? Dissect it. Is it true? Is it worth the stress? Breathe. So many people, when they stress, what do? They tense up, their bodies get tense, they don't breathe, they it's shallow breathing. Breathe. Actually take some time do some breath work. Actually release that stress and talk to people. Talk to friends, talk to family, talk to someone about what is stressing you. Actually release it. And the other thing that I often talk about is journal. If you've got something going on that's in your head and it's constantly there, and journal it, talk it, write it out, and get it out of your system, get it out of your body, and actually get it down on paper. And it's amazing once you start to do that, how much it actually the stress subsides. So that's still hard as well. That side of things is still hard, but which side do you want to choose, and which side of level of hard do you want? Do you want the side that's actually good for you, or do you want the side that you think is good for you but it's really not, which is the movies, TikToks, Facebook, the food, the drugs?
The cheap dopamine, people are just subscribing to a lot of cheap dopamine there. But
It is.
you would understand, Rob. I mean, the people that you deal with or you end up talking to are people that are really filled with ego. You know what I mean? This whole masculine, like you were going through and saying, I'm no longer able to, provide for my family, and you felt deep because you thought you couldn't provide or you couldn't be there for your loved ones. Okay. And there's this whole thing in Australia. I don't know if it's there in other cultures, but should be all right, mate. You know what I mean? Everyone will just tell you to swallow a bag of cement and then, everything is just going to figure itself out. And then it manifests as a heart attack at a young age of 42. Now, for somebody who's listening right now, Rob, and they might be skeptical maybe about seeking coaching and they haven't really felt the love and the essence of Tony Robbins in their face, and they feel like, nah, they'll be all right. They should handle challenges by themselves. What would you say to encourage them to just really consider seeking external guidance minus the burning feet, or from the burning coals?
Firstly, you're not bulletproof. Okay. None of us are bulletproof. Okay. So I thought I was bulletproof, and the stress in some way, shape or form will get the better of you in parts of your life, whether it's your health, whether it's your mind, whether it's your relationships. Stress will always, it will never go away unless you take steps to conquer that stress and get tools in place and do the right things. So firstly, that's the first thing that I say is when none of us are bulletproof, all right? And stress is it is the silent killer. It's so not good for us, and we often hear, and I don't think we hear enough about stress and why stress is so bad for us. But look, I probably was very skeptical when I first looked into coaching, but I know it changed my life. It changed my life because I felt like I had good tools and strategies to use that I never knew I had before, or I didn't know I didn't have them before. So I was able to then use those tools to manage everything in my life. Now, what I just shared earlier about choosing your level of hard, that's just surface, it's why we're stressing. So many of us stress because we feel like people don't want to fail, right? So if they fail, they're going to get found out. If they fail, there's shame there, there's guilt there, there's sadness there, there's a depression there, there's all of these other things. But the main one is we don't ever want to be found out. Like, how many people have failed in their lives and they get up and they go again? It's not just because we've failed. It doesn't mean it's the end of our lives. It's the end of our business. It's the end. We've just got to go again. It's the old theory. I know it's an old cliche saying, but it's not how hard you get hit. It's how hard you get hit, or how many times you get hit and get back up, or whatever that saying is. But it's so true because, through our failures, through everything that happens to us is our learning points. That's where we continue to learn and grow from those things. So, I get there is people out there that are skeptical, but that's with anything in life, I suppose. But, for me, I know it changed my life, and it's through having coaches that I got into the industry myself. I would never have done it if I had a coach and nothing worked. Well, I would have said, "Oh, this is just bullshit," and I'll go off and do something. I would have stayed in my hospitality business. But I saw the power that is in having a coach and having the mentor and the guidance and someone to talk to and someone to seek. When you have problems and dissect. And the good thing is when you do have a coach, and I'm not a business coach as such, but I'm more a mindset and all of that sort of stuff. But it's, having been in business it's amazing how many times I've had clients that will ask me a business question, and because I'm not coming from a I don't have any, what's the word, emotion to that business. I'm not attached to that business of theirs. I will have a clarity in a decision that I would say to go with, right? Because I'm not attached to that business, where so many business owners are so attached to their business. When you tell them, oh, I think you should do this or should do that, they get so emotionally attached that what
It's
happens if
their identity, right? It's
yeah,
it's
it's
like an
their identity.
extension of who they are. Yeah.
And that happened to me. I remember having a coach, and I went to my coach with a problem, and I still have a coach to this day. I don't think I will ever go in different areas, not, in different areas of my life. And I just remember going to my coach one day with an issue with my business, and it was just so clear for him, right? It was the decisions that, or the advice he gave me. I went, oh my God, why didn't I think of that? That was so simple, because I was invested emotionally, and what was going on is the stress and the overwhelm and everything that goes on with me, what was going on with me at the time, was I couldn't see the forest through the trees, as they say, because of all the stress and the overwhelm. But
Absolutely.
my coach just went snap and gave me and his opinion. I went, I'm like, oh wow, that was easy. That was easy,
Absolutely.
and that's what he said. He said to me, he said, "I'll never forget." He said, I'm not emotionally invested in your business. I'm not in the stress. I'm not in the overwhelm. I'm not in all of that crap that you're in at the moment." He said,
Mm.
"So we've got to get," and that's what he said to us. Never forget. He said, "We've got to get rid of that stress, because with the stress, you're never going to be able to make decisions with clarity and precision."
I
And I
like
went,
that
"Wow,
because fish don't see the water that they swim in. And
oh,
if you wear dark glasses, everything looks dark. And if those glasses are green, everything looks green. And you could actually argue with people that no, that's a green screen. No, it's not. It is clear if you just take off the lens that you're wearing right now. Now, obviously, now that we've clarified that, obviously, a lot of people might need this. You offer a free 45-minute strategy session with potential clients, right? What can somebody expect from this session, and how does this really set them up for maybe the future coaching engagements that they might need?
yes, certainly." So yes, yeah, I offer a free 45-minute strategy session, which is all around, taking whatever their biggest challenge is right now, and just breaking that down, and making them and getting businessmen, fathers who are businessmen, looking at things a little bit differently. And that's our biggest issue, isn't it? That we through life, we're programmed to, sometimes we've got the blinkers on. We just need to take those blinkers off. So it's all about, looking at maybe a challenge that someone might have, and giving them some strategies around those challenges. And it's a free 45-minute session. If in that time, you don't see value, well, that's okay. But what I often say is, what have you got to lose? What have you got to lose? It's 45 minutes. Yeah, it's 45 minutes. Okay. But most times when you sit and you talk to someone, you'll come away with something, So
And where can people go to get this session, Rob?
So I'm on Facebook. I have a heavy presence on Facebook. I'm also on LinkedIn. So Rob Yoannidis on Facebook and on LinkedIn. If someone wanted to, DM me, send me a message. I've also got a landing page, which maybe we can put the link in.
I'll put those
Yeah.
links in the show notes below so that people can actually find their way there.
Yeah.
Now, Rob, I can't thank you enough. I mean, obviously, if I didn't have a podcast, we would probably just have been a a conversation, and things of that nature. But your life story and your experience has obviously touched me for quite a lot of times. And I would never want to arrive at that sort of position. And, that's the reason why we constantly check in together. But there's a pivotal character in your story that I would want us to acknowledge right now. I've spoken to Georgia for quite a while, and I've had a laugh and exchanged a few jokes here and there. But maybe there's something that you haven't told her that I want you to say on the show today, because one, she was one that literally drew you out of all the situations that you were in, and the last one being actually paying for your scholarship to become a coach, and hence now you are here showcasing. If she's watching this part right now, what's the one thing you want to tell her?
Oh, definitely. Well, firstly, she probably saved my life, which most people don't know. So when I had my heart attack, I was laying in bed like most blokes do. I'm having a heart attack. I had no idea that I was having a heart attack, but I just said, "Oh, I'm just, I've come down with something," and she literally dragged me out of bed and said, "We are going to hospital." So she literally, if she didn't do that, who knows? you know. But so to her, thank you for saving my life. But as far as that, she's just a beautiful woman. She's definitely my soulmate. We're both Leos, so we can butt heads every now and then. Both very strong-willed, very strong-headed. But what she did, that was the gift. That was the most beautiful gift because she knew that I wanted to do this. She knew that. Well, firstly, she did it out of just wanting to help me. You know, the coaching wasn't even an option back then. She just wanted to help her husband become or break out of what was happening for me, and she just wanted her old version of her husband back, the fun, the loving, the caring, the joking, the one that was always, I was always having a joke and having a laugh and always the life of the party, and I wasn't that, and she just wanted that person back, and it wasn't about her, it was about her helping me get back to where I needed to be. So that is something that so many women probably not enough do these things for their husbands, where they might say, you know what, there might be a lady watching this today, and she might have a husband that might be struggling through their business, might be, stressed and all of this. Get him on, book him in for a session with me, book him in because it could be the difference in changing his life, and for Georgia to do that for me was something that I am forever grateful for. So, and I love her very much for it.
Absolutely. Well, thanks, Georgia, for affording us this opportunity and everything else that comes along with it. Now, Rob, you and I, we go a long way and we could go on and on. But in the interest of obviously saving tape, we should maybe conclude it now. Thank you so much for sharing your journey and all these profound insights. As I said, your life story and your journey is just remarkable, and it just underscores the importance of resilience, self-awareness, and just the pursuit of balance in achieving both personal and professional success. And for those that are watching right now, if Rob's story resonated with you, or if you know someone who could benefit from his expertise, please share this episode. You could end up saving a life, because you never know what somebody could be going through, and they're probably just not saying, and you don't want to be the person to regret if, just in case they, if the worst thing sort of happens. And if somebody has shared this video with you, first of all, welcome and subscribe to the Online Prosperity Show. That person who shared this video with you has just saved your life. Now you need to do the rest yourself. Reach out to Rob, and I will put the show notes I'll put the links in the show notes there so that you can connect with him. And for those that are new to the channel, stay tuned for our next episode, where we're going to be exploring innovative ideas to enhance your happiness and overall well-being. Until then, I want you to remember that achieving peak performance starts with a single step. And that single step is maybe self-discovery and finding balance. Until next time, bye for now.